Amira's heart was broken, but she never expected the beggar she brought to her ex's wedding to change everything and steal the show. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment where you are watching from, and turn on the notification bell. Amira and Alex had been in a committed relationship for several years. One day, Alex traveled to another city for an important business proposal. It was there that he met Christina, the stunning daughter of the company's owner. During the meeting, their eyes met, and an instant spark ignited between them. The very next day, Alex and Christina saw each other again. She was captivating, a true vision of beauty. They exchanged contact details, and soon after, Alex returned to his city. Over the following months, Amira began to sense a shift. Their conversations grew colder, distant. She tried to understand what was happening, but in truth, Alex's heart had drifted. He was no longer emotionally present. His mind was now consumed by thoughts of Christina. Then, one morning, Alex called Amira and ended the relationship. That night, Amira cried silently, but she refused to beg for love. Instead, she found strength in her pain and began to heal, even though the wounds ran deep. 2 months later, wedding invitations began to circulate. Alex and Christina were getting married. To everyone's surprise, even Amira was invited. But the question lingered in the air. Would Amira attend the wedding? A few days before the wedding, on her way back from work, Amira spotted a man sitting outside the shopping mall. His hair was bushy, his clothes worn out. He looked rugged, but he wasn't begging. Amira paused at the corner, observing him quietly. After a few minutes, it became clear he was mentally stable. She took a deep breath and walked up to him. "Hey," she said gently, "do you want some money?" The man looked up, smiled, and replied, "If you think I need some, then let me have it." Amira smiled back. The man smiled again. Then she asked, "Would you mind going home with me?" The man raised his eyes to her and said, "Aren't you scared of taking strangers into your home?" Amira chuckled and replied, "You're too small to harm me." They both laughed. "Let's go," Amira said. "At least get a bath and have some good food, dude." Truthfully, Amira had been looking for someone to accompany her to the wedding. She couldn't afford to hire anyone. They went home together. Arriving at her apartment, Amira showed him the guest room. His name was Jeff. After dropping by to get him some clothes, Jeff took a long bath, freshened up, and changed into something clean. Amira headed straight to the kitchen and made coffee for two. She handed one cup to Jeff. The room fell into a comfortable silence as they sipped their drinks. Then Jeff broke the ice. "Do you mind sharing your past, your present, or anything at all?" Amira shook her head slightly. "No past. Just enjoy your coffee." Then she walked straight to her room. 2 days to the wedding, Amira visited the shopping mall again. She picked out a sharp suit, a pair of shoes, sunglasses, and some shaving cream for Jeff. When she got home, she walked up to him and asked playfully, "Hey dude, will you mind if I shave your hair?" Jeff looked at her and replied, "Why would you want to do that? Women don't touch my hair," he teased. Amira frowned. Jeff immediately snapped to attention. "I'm sorry, why? I was just joking. You can if you're good at it." She smiled, pulled out the shaving cream, and carefully shaved him. By the time she was done, Jeff looked strikingly handsome. Amira whispered to herself, "I'll use him to get to Alex." That afternoon, she served a delicious meal, and they ate together at the dining table. Still seated, Amira asked softly, "Is it okay if you follow me to a wedding?" Then she opened up. She told Jeff everything about Alex. She wasn't over him, she just wanted to use Jeff to make him jealous. Jeff smiled warmly and said, "I'll take the job, and I'll do it perfectly." They both laughed loudly, enjoying each other's company. Amira walked to her room, brought out the clothes and suit she had bought for him. Jeff grinned and teased, "Hey ma'am, you've got an eye for good stuff. I give you that." Saturday morning arrived, and the wedding preparations began. It was already Saturday morning. Jeff and Amira dressed up, both looking absolutely stunning. They had hired an SUV Jeep just for the wedding. Amira had instructed Jeff to introduce himself as the CEO of Jeffrey Oil and Gas Company, the son of a high-profile business tycoon. Jeff nodded and replied, "Yes, ma'am." But then he teased her, saying, "How much are you going to pay me for this job?" They both laughed it off and continued their journey. When they arrived at the wedding hall, the entire place sparkled. Soft music played in the background, and the decorations were breathtaking chandeliers, lights, everything glowed beautifully. The moment Jeff and Amira walked in, Alex spotted them. He saw Amira and the handsome, wealthy-looking man beside her. He whispered in his heart, "Who is this rich, cute guy holding Amira so romantically?" He lost his guard for a few seconds. He had thought Amira would be crying over him by now. A few minutes later, the DJ called the couple out for a dance. As Alex danced with his bride, Jeff held Amira close, too close. Alex became visibly uncomfortable, trying hard to mask his emotions so Christina wouldn't notice. Meanwhile, Amira and Jeff enjoyed their meal, smiling and laughing together. Alex went around greeting friends who had attended the wedding. When he reached the table where Amira and Jeff were seated, they exchanged pleasantries. Jeff introduced himself as the CEO of Jeffrey Oil and Gas Company. Alex felt a sudden wave of intimidation. He looked at Amira and said, "It seems you've known him even before we met." That statement struck Amira like a slap to the chest. Unable to hold her emotions, she quietly walked out to the garden for some fresh air. Tears almost rolled down her cheeks. But just then, Jeff gently held her from behind and said, "Amira, you are a queen, and queens don't cry. We're here to have fun, so let's go back in and enjoy ourselves." Her face lifted immediately. As they turned to go back inside, a lady rushed up to them. "Excuse me, sir," she said. "I think I know you." Jeff smiled and replied, "You might be mistaking me for someone else." But the woman insisted, "No, you're the CEO of Jeffrey Oil and Gas." Jeff's face shifted subtly as he realized the woman truly recognized him. He turned to her and repeated, "I think you're mistaking me for someone else." But she was certain. She kept repeating his name with confidence. Amira turned and looked him straight in the eyes. "Who are you?" she asked. He paused, then replied, "I'm Jeff Garcia. Can we go back inside now?" But the truth was, Jeff really was the CEO of Jeffrey Oil and Gas Company. Unknown to Amira, he had only been walking the streets in search of something real, in search of love. Back inside the wedding hall, Alex and Christina's ceremony was winding down. Christina's parents gifted them a beautiful brand new car along with other items. Everyone celebrated with them. The party ended, and guests slowly began to leave. Jeff and Amira also left and went home. On their way home, Amira couldn't take her eyes off Jeff. She kept stealing glances at him as he drove, her mind buzzing with questions. Finally, Jeff chuckled softly and turned to her. "You've been staring at me all day," he said, a playful smile tugging at his lips. Amira hesitated for a moment, then asked, her voice laced with curiosity, "Jeff, are you really the CEO of Jeffrey Oil and Gas?" Jeff gave a small nod, his gaze steady on the road ahead. "Yes, I am," he replied gently. "But I haven't been in the country for years. I needed a break. More than that, I wanted something real. Every woman I met only saw the money. No one saw me. So I came back and decided to live like an ordinary man. I wanted to find someone who could love me without the titles or the wealth." He glanced at her with a warm smile. "So I became a beggar." Amira sat silently, her thoughts tangled in disbelief and wonder. She didn't speak another word until they got home. As they stepped into the house, Amira instinctively reached for her phone to call the car rental company, ready to return the car she had hired. But Jeff stopped her gently, taking the phone from her hand. Looking straight into her eyes, he said, "You don't have to return the car. I'll pay for it. It's yours now." Amira's eyes widened in shock. "What?" Jeff stepped closer, his voice soft and sincere. "For everything you did, for shaving my messy hair, cleaning me up, getting me clothes, feeding me, for seeing me when I was invisible to the world, that car is a small gift of appreciation." He handed the phone back. "Call them and ask for their account details. I'll transfer the money right now." Tears welled up in Amira's eyes, not from sadness, but pure, overwhelming joy. She couldn't believe what was happening. She had helped a stranger and found a miracle in return. Jeff walked inside, gathered the few belongings he had left, and stepped back out with a mischievous grin. "Well," he said, raising a brow playfully, "now that my undercover mission is complete, may I take my leave, ma'am?" Amira let out a breathless laugh through her tears, her heart full. "Not so fast, Mr. Beggar CEO," she replied, smiling through the emotion. And just like that, something beautiful had begun. 3 weeks later, the car still sat in front of Amira's house, washed, polished, and untouched. She hadn't driven it once. Every morning she'd peek through her window, stare at the keys on her table, and whisper to herself, "Is this really mine?" But the car wasn't the only thing that stayed on her mind. Jeff had vanished. No calls, no texts, nothing. He had smiled, joked, handed her a life-changing gift, and then disappeared like he was never real. Amira couldn't stop replaying his words. "Now that my undercover mission is complete, may I take my leave, ma'am?" Was it just a joke or a goodbye? Then one rainy afternoon, as she sat by her window sipping tea, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She hesitated, then picked up. "Hello?" Her voice trembled slightly. A deep, familiar voice responded, laced with urgency. "Amira, don't go outside. Not yet. Please." Her heart skipped. "Jeff?" But the line went dead. Confused and slightly alarmed, Amira stood, walked to the window, and froze. Outside, parked behind the gifted car, was a sleek black SUV with tinted windows. The engine was running, and a man in a dark suit stepped out holding a photograph. It was her picture. Her breath caught. What in the world is going on? Amira's heartbeat quickened as she stepped back from the window, clutching her phone tightly. The teacup slipped from her hand and shattered on the floor, but she didn't flinch. Her eyes were fixed on the figure outside. Why would someone have my photo? And how did Jeff know? The man looked around cautiously, then started walking toward her front door. Amira's breath hitched. She backed away slowly, her mind racing with possibilities. Just as his hand reached for the doorbell, knock, knock, knock. It wasn't the bell. It was the back door. Amira spun around, startled. "Amira, it's me," Jeff's voice called softly from behind the door. She rushed to open it, relief washing over her until she saw the look on his face. His smile was gone. His shirt was slightly damp from the rain. And for the first time, Jeff looked afraid. "What's going on?" she whispered. He stepped inside quickly and locked the door behind him. "We don't have much time. That man, he's not who he looks like." Amira frowned. "He has my picture, Jeff. Why? What does he want with me?" Jeff looked her straight in the eyes. "Because of me. Because I'm not just the CEO of Jeffrey Oil and Gas. I'm also the whistleblower who exposed a multi-billion-dollar oil laundering syndicate 2 years ago. And now, they've found me." Amira staggered back, her hands covering her mouth. "You're saying someone's trying to kill you?" Jeff nodded. "And now? They think you're part of my life, which means you're in danger too." Her legs gave out, and she sank onto the couch. "I didn't sign up for this, Jeff." "I know," Jeff said softly, kneeling in front of her. "That's why I disappeared. I thought staying away would keep you safe. But when I found out they traced your photo, I had no choice but to come back." He reached into his coat pocket and handed her a small USB flash drive. "This has everything. The names, the transactions, the proof. I was supposed to hand it over to an international watchdog group. But if they catch me before I do, everything dies with me." Tears welled in Amira's eyes. "So what do we do?" Jeff took her hands gently in his. "Run with me, just for a little while. Let me keep you safe." Amira stared at him, her heart pounding not just from fear, but from the raw truth in his eyes. "You still trust me?" Jeff asked. She nodded slowly. "I don't know why, but yes, I do." Suddenly, bang, bang. Gunshots shattered the front window. Glass exploded across the room. Jeff threw himself over Amira, shielding her with his body. Then everything went silent. except for the sound of rain and the whisper of danger seeping into the walls. The silence after the gunshots was deafening. Jeff stayed low, his body shielding Amira's trembling form. "Are you hurt?" he whispered. Amira shook her head, heart racing. "No, I'm okay." Jeff peeked over the edge of the couch. The front window was blown out, glass scattered like diamonds across the floor. Rain poured in, mingling with the broken shards. The living room, once quiet and warm now, looked like a war zone. "We need to leave. Now," Jeff said firmly, helping Amira to her feet. They moved fast. Jeff grabbed a duffel bag Amira had packed weeks ago for a girls' trip she never got to take. He stuffed in the USB, her ID, a few clothes, and Amira's phone, then zipped it shut. "Back door," he said. They slipped out into the rain, the world suddenly louder with the storm. The sky was dark, thunder rolling like an omen. Jeff held Amira's hand tightly as they crept along the narrow path between her house and the neighbor's fence. Suddenly, a beam of flashlight cut across the backyard. Someone was searching. Jeff pulled her down behind the large trash bins. They crouched, soaked, and breathless. Amira's voice was barely a whisper. "Jeff, are we going to make it out of this?" Jeff turned to her, his eyes intense yet gentle. "We have to. You gave me hope, Amira. I can't lose you now." She didn't respond, but the way she gripped his hand said enough. The light faded. Jeff motioned for her to follow, and they made a run for the gate at the end of the alley. It opened with a low creak too, loud in the silence. Jeff froze, listening. Nothing. He guided her through the narrow path behind the neighbor's gardens and into a dim side street. Parked under a street lamp was an old silver Corone Amira didn't recognize. Jeff yanked the passenger door open. "Get in." As he started the engine, Amira asked breathlessly, "Where did this come from?" Jeff shot her a grin. "Let's just say I had a plan B." They sped off into the night, tires splashing through puddles. Behind them, the faint red glow of taillights appeared in the distance. "They're following us," Amira said, twisting in her seat. "I know," Jeff replied, eyes focused, "but they don't know what I know, and I've got one last move they won't see coming." As the city lights faded behind them, Jeff reached over and gently squeezed her hand. "Just trust me, Amira. I promise I'll get us out of this alive." She stared at him, her heart still pounding not just from fear, but from the growing truth she could no longer ignore. She was falling for the man who was supposed to be a nobody. And now, they were running for their lives together. While Jeff and Amira disappeared into the stormy night, far across town, a different kind of silence weighed heavy in a luxury apartment bathed in shadows and cold tension. Alex sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the same spot on the floor he had stared at for days. It had been 1 year. 1 year of whispered prayers, expensive fertility treatments, and fake smiles at baby showers. 1 year of buying cribs they didn't use and hearing, "Just relax, it'll happen." But it hadn't. And now, Alex knew why. Christina stood by the window, arms crossed, watching the rain. She hadn't spoken much since the truth came out a week ago. "You could have told me," Alex finally said, his voice low but edged with pain. "Before the wedding. Before the nursery. Before the hope." She flinched, but didn't turn around. "I didn't know how to," she murmured. Alex stood. "You didn't want to. That's different." Tears welled up in Christina's eyes. "It's not what you think. It wasn't an abortion or anything shameful. I was 15 when they removed a growth in my uterus. I almost died. My parents thought hiding it would protect me." He stared at her, stunned. "So your parents knew? And they sat through our wedding smiling like nothing was wrong?" Christina finally turned. "They thought it wouldn't matter once you fell in love. They believed I deserved a normal life." Alex stepped back, like her words had burned him. "What about what I deserved?" he asked. "A choice? The truth? You watched me dream of holding a child in my arms, and all the while you knew it could never happen." Christina's lip trembled. "We could still adopt." "I don't want to adopt, Christina," Alex interrupted, voice rising. "Not now. Not like this. I wanted a family. My blood. My name." Silence. Then Christina said quietly, "And now? What do you want now?" Alex swallowed hard. He looked around the room at the untouched crib, the tiny clothes still in their packaging, the wall paint they never finished. "I don't know anymore." Then his phone buzzed. Jeff. A name he hadn't seen in months. "I need a favor. I'm in trouble. Don't ask questions. Just meet me at the old vineyard by midnight. And come alone." Alex blinked at the message. Christina watched him carefully. "What is it?" He pocketed the phone. "Nothing. Just work." And for the first time in days, Alex felt something inside him shift. A call for help. A distraction from the storm within. Or maybe a door to something bigger than his own pain. He picked up his coat. "I'll be back." The night air was cold and sharp as Alex stepped out of his car, headlights slicing through the dark vineyard road. The place was old abandoned, but he remembered it. It was where Christina's family once hosted secret business meetings, far from city ears. He checked his phone again. Midnight. Come alone. His heart pounded. Suddenly, a figure stepped out from the shadows near the grapevines, hoodie pulled low, eyes alert. Alex reached slowly into his coat. "Gray Falcon?" The man hesitated, then pulled back his hood. Alex's eyes widened. "Wait, I know you." Jeff gave a small nod. "Yeah, Christina's wedding. You're the groom. Alex, right?" Alex frowned. "You're Jeff, the cousin nobody knew much about." Jeff gave a dry smile. "The poor cousin from overseas. Except I'm not poor. I'm the CEO of Jeffrey Oil and Gas." Alex blinked. "What?" Jeff stepped closer. "I went underground for a reason. Your in-laws. They've been siphoning money out of my company for years. I hired someone online to track it. That person was you." Alex's mind raced. "You're Gray Falcon?" Jeff nodded. "And I trusted you, which is why I need you again." Alex folded his arms, suspicion creeping into his voice. "Why now?" Jeff's voice dropped. "Because they're coming after someone I love, a woman who knew me when I had nothing. Christina's family will bury her alive if they find out what she's seen." Alex stared at him, torn. Part of him wanted to walk away. After what Christina did, he had his own war to fight. But another part deeper, unbroken still, believed in doing what's right. "You think they'll come after her?" Alex asked. Jeff looked him in the eye. "I don't think. I know." After a long pause, Alex extended his hand. "Then we stop them." Jeff shook it firmly. "Let's bring the truth, out yours and mine." The vineyard was quiet again, save for the soft hum of crickets. But Jeff and Alex stood in the silence, the weight of their truths heavy in the air. Jeff glanced at the worn path leading out of the vineyard. "We'll need to move fast. They'll realize Amira and I are missing. And once Christina's father gets involved, it won't just be threats anymore." Alex's jaw tightened. "He's already watching me. Every word, every step. Christina pretends everything's fine, but I know her mother's been digging into my emails." Jeff pulled out a flash drive and handed it over. "This has enough evidence to rattle their entire operation. Shell companies, fake charities, it's all there. But I need you to bury it until we're ready. If they even sniff this out, Amira is dead." Alex nodded, pocketing the drive. "And what do you need from me?" Jeff looked at him steadily. "Buy us time. Keep Christina and her parents distracted. Pretend everything's fine. I'll reach out when it's time." Meanwhile, Christina sat in her parents' estate, in the dimly lit study, staring at her reflection in the glass window. A full year married to Alexand, still no child, no movement, no growth, just questions. She felt cold fingers graze her shoulder. Her mother. "They're starting to ask, Christina. His friends. Our cousins." "I told you I'd handle it," Christina replied tightly. Her father stepped in, voice low and commanding. "You should have told him from the beginning. We gave you a chance." "I was scared," Christina whispered. "I thought he'd leave." Her father's expression darkened. "And if he finds out what really happened in the hospital? What we had to sign off on just to save you?" He slammed a folder on the table. "He cannot know!" Christina picked up the folder, trembling. Inside was the truth. Her truth, the surgery, the documents, and a blurry photo of Jeff. She narrowed her eyes. Why is he back in the country? Her father's silence was loud. He was at our wedding, Christina added slowly. Alex barely noticed him. Her mother shifted uneasily. He's been asking questions, Christina, and we don't know what he remembers or who he's told. Christina's eyes burned. Then maybe it's time we find out. Rain fell lightly over the city, misting the windows of the black SUV parked 2 streets away from Alex and Christina's home. Inside, a man sat with a Bluetooth headset and a camera lens trained on Alex's study window. Target hasn't left the house in hours, he muttered into the mic. No calls, no movement, he's just pacing. On the other end of the line, Christina's voice crackled with cold focus. Then watch closer. If he contacts anyone, especially that Jeff guy, I want to know. Immediately. Yes, ma'am. She ended the call and tossed the phone on her vanity, staring at her reflection again. Her perfect marriage was a lie. Her body, a betrayal. And now Alex was slipping, becoming distant, silent, unreadable. He knows, she whispered to herself. I can feel it. At the safe house, meanwhile, Jeff stood at the window of a small Airbnb tucked in the hills just outside the city. Amira sat on the couch, hands clasped tightly together. You okay? Jeff asked, walking over with 2 mugs of hot tea. She nodded. Just trying to understand how I went from scrubbing floors to hiding from billionaires with family secrets. Jeff smiled softly. You didn't deserve any of this, Amira, but I promise you, I'll fix it. Amira looked up at him. Why me, Jeff? Why not walk away when you found out who they were? He lowered himself beside her, looking her straight in the eye. Because when I had nothing, you still saw me. That's not something I can forget or abandon. Suddenly, Jeff's burner phone buzzed. Unknown number. You've been made. Alex is being watched. Meet tonight. Usual place. Jeff's expression darkened. They're on to him. Back at Alex's house, Alex stepped out onto the balcony for a call, phone pressed tightly to his ear. He whispered, Jeff, I think someone's watching me. I can feel it. Jeff's voice came through, calm but urgent. They are. Don't go home tonight. I'll send a location. Meet me in 20. As Alex turned to go inside, he paused. The hairs on his neck rose. From across the street, the camera lens clicked. Later, that night, the meeting. Under the cover of darkness, Alex drove to a secluded riverside pier. Jeff was already there, pacing. The sound of water lapping against the wood was the only thing keeping the silence from swallowing them whole. Alex stepped out. They've put a tail on me. I know. They caught your reflection in your study window, Jeff said. I have a plan to throw them off, but it's risky. Alex looked at him. What is it? Jeff pulled out a small black envelope. Inside, a forged document and a burner phone. You're going to leak a fake report about me. Make it look like I left the country. That'll give us 48 hours to move Amira somewhere safe and start pulling down Christina's family from the inside. Alex raised an eyebrow. You trust me with that? Jeff nodded. I have no choice. We're already in too deep. Meanwhile, Christina's discovery. Christina sat in her parents' private study, combing through surveillance reports when she froze. One photo. One timestamp. Alex. With Jeff. On the pier. Her heart stopped. He knew. They both knew. And for the first time in a year, Christina felt fear. Real, raw fear. She closed the file, stood up slowly, and whispered to herself, if he thinks he can bring me down, he doesn't know who he married. The tension in the Grand Meridian ballroom could be sliced with a knife. Christina stood radiant in her silver gown, a dazzling mask over a crumbling empire. Her father, Chief Williams, strutted beside her, proud, smug, untouched by the storms he created. But tonight, the winds were shifting. Jeff, Amira, and Alex entered the ballroom quietly but intentionally. No one clapped. The music faltered. Eyes darted. Jeff walked straight to Christina's father and handed him a manila envelope. "What is this?" Chief Williams scoffed. "Evidence," Jeff said coldly, "of your years of financial fraud, embezzlement, bribery, and forged contracts tied to the Jeffrey Oil and Gas Company, the company you tried to seize." The room froze. Before Chief Williams could respond, two men in black suits stepped forward, anti-corruption officers. "You're under arrest for multiple financial crimes," one officer announced, cuffing him. "You have the right to remain silent." Gasps spread across the ballroom. Christina's mouth hung open. "No, no, Daddy!" she cried, rushing toward him, but security held her back. "Christina," Jeff said, voice calm but firm, "you knew. You helped cover it all. You tried to control love, break friendships, and hide a medical truth from your own husband. But now, you're standing alone." Christina's eyes welled with shame. "I was afraid of being alone." "But you were never honest," Alex finally said, stepping forward. "You took advantage of my love, lied about something that defined our marriage, and used your family's power to silence me. I lost Amira because I believed in you." Amira stood beside Jeff, graceful, calm, healed. "You chose glitter over gold," she said softly to Alex. "And now you see what it cost." Alex turned away in shame. 1 week later, news headlines exploded. Business tycoon Chief Williams arrested for multi-billion naira fraud. Socialite daughter Christina banned from all public contracts pending investigation. Christina sat alone in her mansion, silent, broken, forgotten. All the elegance gone. No allies, no Alex. Meanwhile, Jeff and Amira stood at the groundbreaking ceremony of a new charity foundation, the Amira Hope Initiative, a safe haven for women recovering from toxic relationships and emotional trauma. "I once lived like I had nothing," Jeff said, addressing the crowd, "and I found everything I needed when I met someone who saw me. Not my title, not my wealth, just me." Amira smiled beside him. Alex watched the event live from his office. He sighed deeply. A mix of regret and humility painted across his face. A lesson, heavy and clear, carved into his heart. Never trade honesty for fantasy. Never betray a diamond while chasing glitter. He picked up his pen and began to write not a love letter, but an apology to himself. Epilogue. A love chosen freely. The sun dipped gently behind the hills, casting a golden hue over the water as Amira walked barefoot along the shore. The breeze carried the scent of salt and freedom, freedom from hurt, from pretense, from everything that once made her doubt herself. Jeff was a few steps behind her, watching, smiling, his heart full. He carried no diamonds in his pocket, just a tiny wooden box and a promise carved deep into his soul. "Amira," he called softly. She turned. Her hair blew gently in the wind, her eyes catching the last light of day. Jeff knelt. "I came into your life as a stranger in rags, and you chose to love me anyway," he said, voice thick with emotion. "Not for what I had, but for who I was. That kind of love, that kind of heart, is rare." He opened the box. A simple, elegant ring. Not loud, but timeless. "Amira, would you marry me? Would you keep seeing me not the CEO, not the name, but the man who found his home in you?" Tears brimmed in Amira's eyes as she smiled, knees trembling, heart racing. "Yes, Jeff," she whispered. 1,000 times. "Yes." He rose and slipped the ring onto her finger, pulling her into a warm embrace. Behind them, the waves clapped gently. The sky seemed to smile. Two hearts, healed and whole, walking into forever, not because fate demanded it, but because they chose it. The end.